Hello again, class, and welcome back to our Macbeth video lecture. Uh, we'll continue with this idea of seeming versus being and duplicity, right? And duplicitousness when we see Duncan's response to the death of Cawdor, right? Malcolm tells him at the start of Act 1, Scene 4, Malcolm says, I've spoke with one that saw him die, who did report that very frankly he confessed his treasons, implored your highness's pardon, and set forth a deep repentance. Ironically, right? He was a bad person, but at the end he was finally good. Nothing in his life became him like the leaving it. And Duncan says, there's no art to find the mind's construction in the face. He was a gentleman on whom I built an absolute trust. And I think this is really important. There's no art, there's no skill to just look at someone and know if they are seeming one way, but in reality another, know if they are being duplicitous. So this idea continues when Macbeth enters. This idea of that he did not know that Cawdor was going to deceive him, and he's so happy, right? He was unexpected that Macbeth quelled the rebellion and won the battle for them. He says, only I have left to say, more is thy due than more than all can pay. Duncan is very rewarding. He's very honest in his appreciation of Macbeth. Right? Macbeth obviously replies, I've done it all for you. The service and the loyalty I owe in doing pays itself. Right? Everything's for your love and honor. Right? And Duncan says, notice these analogies. Welcome hither. I've begun to plant thee and will labor to make thee full of growing. Noble Banquo, thou hast no less deserve, nor must be known no less to have done so. Let me enfold thee and hold thee to my heart. And Banquo says, there, if I grow, the harvest is your own. Just like Macbeth, he's essentially letting Duncan know everything is done for him as the king. But then Duncan says, well, guess who's next in line? My oldest son, Malcolm, and he's the Prince of Cumberland. And he then says to Macbeth, and let's go to your castle to celebrate. He kind of invites himself over, which is interesting, because is that not a little bit of arrogance? You go inviting yourself over to someone's house, and then something bad happens. Again, I'm not trying to reduce this down too much, but right, from hence to inverness and bind us further to you. And Macbeth says, the rest is labor which is not used for you. I'll be the harbinger and make joyful the hearing of my wife with your approach. But let me head home so I can let my wife know you're coming over. And Duncan says, my worthy Cawdor, right? Again, worthy, that notion of respect. Now, what does Macbeth say aside? Ooh, it's starting to eat at him, right? Again, that omniscience, only we know. And as we said, when characters tell us things that they don't tell other characters on the stage, even if it's bad things, even if they're villains, we feel privy to their sharing with us through omniscience. So omniscience, I think, contributes to that, the villain you love to hate, because they may lie to everyone else in the play. They may be duplicitous to everyone else in the play. They may seem one way, but in reality are another, but not with us, the audience. He says, the Prince of Cumberland, that is a step on which I must fall down or else overleap. For in my way it lies. Stars, hide your fires. Let not light see my black and deep desires. The stars, right? This, I think, the idea of heaven and who's in heaven, right? Again, you don't have to believe in religion to understand the notion of religion in the play, and that he does not want the creator, God, the person who will judge him, to see what he's thinking about doing, right? The eye wink at the hand, yet let that be which the eye fears when it is done to see. Right? Now, again, when people say, I know I shouldn't do something, the more I think about it, so I'm just going to stop thinking about it and doing it and do it. it's not necessarily critical thinking. He recognizes now that what he's doing, he's afraid of, or what he's contemplating doing, he's afraid of. His eye fears it, right? But he doesn't want to think about it. He doesn't want to see it. Again, when people choose to ignore the reality instead of understanding the effects, possible effects of a decision, and use Occam's razor and use logos instead of placating your irrational emotions, right? Just because you might want something to be true or hope for something to be true. Um, so again, everybody departs. We now exit to Lady Macbeth. I'm sorry, that act and that scene ends, and now everybody exits at the end of scene 4, and now we have scene 5, and she's reading his letter in which he tells her of what happened, meeting the witches and becoming Cawdor. And what does she say here? Now, notice nobody else is on stage, so this is all omniscient. And again, we get to learn how she feels about him when he's not around. And she says, "Glams thou art and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way." He lacks that mean streak, if you would, that is necessary to be ambitious, to be successful. Is that true? Or is that fallacious reasoning? Do you have to be mean to be successful? Do you have to step on other people to get ahead? Right? She says, "Art not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. What thou wouldest highly, thou holily, wouldest not play false." Right? He's too good of a person, is what she's saying. He's too full of kindness. He's too full of karma in some ways. This idea that, right, he's not going to be mean and he's not going to do anything to get ahead. Wouldest wrongly win, right? Notice that alliteration for emphasis. And then she says, so what has to be done? Hie thee hither, meaning hurry home. Notice the alliteration as well for emphasis. That I may, ooh, this gets interesting. That I may pour my spirits in thine ear, and chastise with the valor of my tongue all that impedes thee from the golden round, which fate and metaphysical aid doth seem to have thee crowned withal. Right? She says, I'm going to have to persuade him, right? And there's no way to persuade him logically because it's not logical to kill Duncan. So we see here she's committing in some ways to her manipulation and sharing with us that she's going to do just that. So now the servant comes in and says, "Hey, guess what? They're coming over." And she's like, "Nah, you got to be kidding me. Really? Duncan's coming here? You're mad to say it." And he says, "No." And she says, "Oh, okay, get the place ready." He brings great news. Now, here it is. Here's the big moment, right? When she unsexes herself. And one could say that she is removing her femininity. Is this a moment of gender identity transformation in some ways? I think one could say so. And this could definitely be seen from a queer theory perspective. The raven himself is horse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements, right? Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop up the access and passage to remorse, that no compunctious visitings shall of nature shake my fell purpose, nor keep peace between the effect and it. Let's just look at this here real quick before we move on and see how she asks for her breast milk to be replaced with poison in a minute. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe, meaning from my feet, right, to my head, top full of direst cruelty. She does not stop up the access and patches to remorse. She wants to be cruel and she doesn't want to feel bad about it. She doesn't want her purpose shaken, nor keep peace between the effect and it. Right? Come to my woman's breasts and take my milk for gall, you murdering ministers, wherever in your sightless substance you wait on nature's mischief. Gall is poison. She wants to have her breast milk replaced with poison. This is extremely significant. Question therein lies, why does she have to remove her femininity to become cruel and remorseless and poisonous? Why can't she be a woman and cruel and remorseless and poisonous in some ways? It's very interesting here, this moment of her unsexing herself. And look at all these S's. Wherever in your sightless substances you wait on nature's mischief. Come thick night and pall thee in the dunnest smoke of hell, that my keen knife not see the wound it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark to cry, hold, hold. She does not want to feel any remorse. She does not want to feel bad, and she does not want any of that guilt, right? Stopping her from doing what she needs to do, right? It's a very significant scene. And I think that definitely ripe for an analysis from a gender criticism perspective and from a queer theory perspective. So that being said, I'm going to pause it. We'll pick up in the next video with Macbeth coming home and Lady Macbeth's first moments of persuasion and kind of her lying out the plan for him. Very significant as she manipulates him from a standpoint that's just not logical. So stay tuned, more to come. Thanks for listening. Let me know if you have any questions, as always.